Hello and welcome to Transcending Ascension. Today we have a live guest on the show, and you can see it live, and we'll also be airing this after on YouTube. We have Christina Franz with us. She is a channeler and an expert in light language, and we're going to unpack those subjects together with her. So let's all welcome Christina. Hello.
Oh, hello. Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for coming on the show. So let's open it up. Let's get the audience started. I've reviewed some of your materials and I like what you have to say. And I would love to dive deep into all of it. But tell our audience what you're about, what your teachings are, and what you can do in this world.
Beautiful. Yes, so I started this spiritual journey, as I call it, probably about 6 years ago. I had a really hard life, hard childhood. Turns out my mom has an entity in her. She kind of sold her soul in a past lifetime. And so they were able to put an entity in her from the get-go. My father, he was a drinker and depressed and ended up being the same thing. So I didn't have the greatest childhood you could see. And I moved out of home when I was 15. So it was a rough life for me. And by the time that God came in to my life, spirit, source, create the source of creation, um, started guiding me, put me back together, building up my foundation, said that we're gonna make my fill in the cracks and make sure that nothing could get in ever again on my foundation. It was pretty amazing. But after doing all this work of healing myself and getting to where I am today and feeling the amazing way that I feel, and now being able to maneuver through life effortlessly, it almost feels like really nothing shocks me anymore. Nothing surprises me. People can't get to me. It's just amazing. So it's been my inspiration to just try to help everybody else get there. I see everybody around me. Everybody's just struggling. They're all trying to do their best to get by. Every day they're just trying to do whatever they have to get by to the next day. And I want them to have more than that. I want them to see that you can move past that actually and leave all that past behind you. You can heal from it and have so much more. And so that's what got me started on this journey. I am a channel for the divine. So they say I'm the bridge that connects the divine realm and the earthly realms together. I work very closely with the Divine Mother and Divine Father and Source, and really it's endless who I work with. There's like an endless amount of anybody I can call on, they'll work with me. So that's a beautiful thing. Um, Orykl, I started working for them recently. They are the world's first marketing place actually for channelers, and I love it. The owner, I completely support her heart and soul she's put into this, and she has the right intentions. But she's been combing every inch of this planet, from one continent to the next, trying to find the best channelers that she could find. And she makes sure that they are literally she makes sure they're lined up with source. There's nobody going to be having attachments or anything like that that's in there. She wants to make sure that whatever she brings is the best in quality. And she has found the most amazing channelers throughout the whole business. I love everybody that is a part of Orykl right now. So that's part of what I do. And then I have my own Earth Angel light activations that I do. And I focus a lot on using my light language to activate people, anything that they're ready for. With that, I always have a telepathic connection with the divine. So they're always able to give me all the information I need with working with people. So that's what's beautiful. Yeshua told me, though, he said, but one of my greatest gifts, never mind, he just said greatest, is my ability to help people that are going through traumas. Since I've went through all that and I've been able to heal myself after going through so much, he says I have such an empathy for people. And I didn't even realize this was a gift until the day he came to say, and that's what he was telling me. He's like, you don't even realize what your greatest gift is. But he's like, your ability to sit down with somebody in one phone call, you are able to get them to open up and share the deep root core of all their those things you don't want to touch, in a million years, all those traumas and pains that you just want to bury away. I can get them to open up about it. And it's by my empathy. I can understand so much of what they're going through and they can see that. I'll tell them exactly how they feel every day. And then they see that somebody gets it and they finally open up. And I'm able to go in and heal them in that first phone call and tell them just what they need to release all that and to heal it. And he said that is the greatest thing that I could do, because shrinks, they could take years sometimes to get somebody to do what I just did in one phone call. And I just do it because I love to. I mean, I love to just work with people and to be able to see the impact it makes on people's lives. When you see somebody get to like release something that's been holding them back their whole entire life that they didn't know they would ever be able, if they'd ever be able to get rid of it and release it, it's amazing. It's why I do what I do. So,
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a really good place to be. I and it's good that you were able to be vulnerable because that's not a guarantee. I was doing life coaching there for a minute because I was obsessed with making the world better, right? And
mm,
how could I make the world better? But I was unable to add in that vulnerability. They would assume that like, oh, you don't know what it's like, you don't know, and I would know what it's like, but I wouldn't be able to be in that place of telling them that I do know what that's like because it's like a wall. Like it's funny that you say that you can. I wonder because that's one of the questions I was going to ask you at channeling. Is I feel the same thing when I talk to the divine. I can bring forth like it's divinely inspired through my own brain, but it's like a channeling coming through a filter system. Whereas actual channelers kind of forego that human system. So I wonder if it's linked to that vulnerability and that you can, because that's my question next is how do you find as a channeler and when did it start for you and how do you feel like you bypass that human brain to allow that entity to fully take you over and just describe how that feels the experience and how you think you can let it through.
Me, I don't do the trance channeling or anything yet, actually. So there is different types of channeling. There are me, it's more actually mine's like more telepathic. I always have an open channel and an open connection with the divine. So I don't even have to ask or like tune in. A lot of times they're there and like when I need to know something, they'll chime in or I can just ask in that moment and they're always answering me. And it comes into my mind like it's, like your own thoughts. They're always communicating in there. So I'm gonna start learning the trance. I do because it's like it's even more powerful. It gets like what comes through it, but you got to be able to release that control, allow somebody else to take over. But I like doing it my way because I can remember the work that's been done. That's one downfall of trance because when they get done, they don't remember anything that was just discussed that came through. So people be trying to discuss it afterwards and ask questions, and they're like, I have no clue what was just said. Like, I can't answer that for you. So that is what I like about the conscious channeling. What was your other question? I just forgot it.
Well, I was saying about the vulnerability and letting down that wall, but that actually switches the line of the conversation anyway. So that sounds actually more like what I do myself. And it's interesting because I that's funny that you say that because I'm looking for a place where I understand how channeling works only because I'm not sure if it's a good idea. And I say this often on my show in the way. So what you do sounds like what I do. And that's fantastic. That feels safe. That
Yeah.
feels connected. And like you say, you remember it. So every conversation, every flow that's happening is happening in real time and it's upgrading my own consciousness, taking it with me everywhere I go. So let's say later on in today, I'm not in such a God space. That information is still there because it's downloaded into my actual lived consciousness. So I find that more of a benefit because there's questions with the trance channeling. And perhaps I'm jealous because I can't do it, but I don't know if I can't do it. I'm unwilling to do it. I've sat down in those moments and I have felt powerful things saying, let us in, bang, 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 let us in. And then I'm like, no. And I literally like don't let them in, like in deep meditations and stuff. And it's like, I'm sorry if you're divine, but you're gonna have to find some other way to talk to me if you're for my highest good. And they do. Because like I am very scared. Schizophrenia runs the family. You know what I mean? Like, and you talked earlier about your mother having an entity in her. So I have family experience of that like as well, multiple. It's scary, right? And it's like, I don't want to allow that in me. We are clear, pure vessels that like we need to work that. That's what I'm always teaching, like Yeshua, Jesus, like that purity is so important. And when we open ourselves up to channel, it's like, but then you have Bashar, he's brought us some powerful, powerful stuff. And then olden day, Edgar Casey brought us great stuff. And, but then few and far between, but then there's like the YouTube's filled with channelers bringing us questionable things as well. Like, how do you feel about the Galactic Federation and all the people channeling them? Because I like that you said Divine Mother and Divine Father and the Divine, because I agree with those. Those are our safe hello, mom, dad, and then the whole, all that's both of them, right? But when we start
Yeah.
talking to entities, more often than not, the entities that speak to us, and we're not counting all of them, But it's a bit like if you're actually talking to Merlin, you're good. If you're actually talking to Jesus, you're good. But then you start galactic federationing, and it's like, that sounds questionable. And all the things they say that were going to happen have not happened. And it's like, you go from there. What do you think of the Galactic Federation?
I have had nothing but bad experiences with anybody that said they were involved. One time I was channeling with somebody, and they were saying that source was saying that there is a galactic federation that is of the light and that are good, but there is that part that is not good as well. My personal experience is everyone that has ever said it, yeah, they end up being an entity that's in them, and like it's not been good. But that's my job. Like, I'm a shadow walker, so like my whole life has been to be in that darkness, and I didn't have any of my gifts and abilities to like be able to discern it. I had to learn the trait, every single sign, and I had to learn it the hard way. It was each time having to go through that experience and find out after getting attachments or getting attacked, and like it was awful. But now I can pick up on it like this. I know all the signs, and that's what they wanted. They wanted me to be able to do it without having the gifts and abilities, to be able to discern it at all times without needing anything else outside of myself. And it's paid off because now, like, even Bashar, I love a lot of his stuff, but some of the stuff that he comes up with, and he's channeling from some gray aliens too. And the grays, they do not like us. They want us gone. They want this for themselves. So you really have to be careful. That is my biggest thing I tell people. You have to watch who you trust. If your discernment is not 100 right now, you need to stay off like TikTok and social media and all this, like, because they are filling you with so much false information to set you back. Only 16% of this earth right now is where they could even go to the true earth. Okay. You got to be 100% light. So many people have fell for traps and false information, and they're not where they think they are on their journey. And
Yeah.
it's because our whole community is filled with it right now. I tell people, whenever you started this journey and you started healing, you put up walls. You realized all these people that were toxic in your life and all that you're trying to heal. So you don't let just anybody in your circle anymore. How's the one way to get in? Oh, they're spiritual. That's the only, we drop all our walls as soon as we hear somebody spiritual, because we usually don't have a lot of spiritual people around us. So we're like, oh, yeah, somebody like me I could talk to. So what do you think the darkness is going to do when they want to get to you and they know you put up all those walls? They've got to blend in. They got to be one of us. And so they talk a good game. They'll say all the same stuff you do. But in the meantime, they're throwing in a whole bunch of stuff that isn't true, placing those little ideas, programming you, and also putting attachments and all kinds of things in you as well. So, and we're too trusting. We'll forget all those little things that we've learned along the way. Hey, look into things before you believe them yourself. Don't just trust anybody, and look up the information and come to the conclusion yourself before believing it. When it's somebody spiritual, we throw that right out the window. It's like everything we've been learning along the way, it's just we forget it and trust everybody, and do not realize. There was one girl last week or a few weeks ago. She has a huge following too. And she's like sitting there clearing, she does like body scans and stuff and clearing. I paid for a reading. I just wanted to see it. Like, I had a feeling about her. And sure enough, she gets to me. And as soon as she started scanning me, she's like, her attitude and everything changed. She went from happy, positive to she was just like, let's hurry up and get this girl done and get off of here. Like, she was like very short. And I was like, all right, warning sign there. And sure enough, she's putting entities in people. They think they're going to her for work. Everything that she's saying that she sees in them is what she's placing in them right then. And she's telling them about it, but just not saying, hey, I'm the one doing it. So she actually has no karma though, because she's informing them that like these things are there, that she's placing them there. And nobody realizes it. And I mean, she has a huge following. I'm like, all those people every day, and they don't realize. And this is where the discernment is so important right now. And people don't understand how this is like something so serious, and they don't realize until usually it's too late, after they find out after they see how far they've gotten behind and how much work they got to do now, and have all this stuff they got to remove out of them. And it's hard to tell somebody that. It's so sad when we got to do that. And
I agree. And that's why one of the main reasons I wanted to have you on the show is so I could pick your brain on those thoughts. And I had a feeling you would think the same way, only because I needed somebody else in that environment that actually sees themselves as a channeler and that can actually see the red flags that are going up. Because, like, the devil will find its place, or Lucifer, Satan, they're both at it in this game. When it comes to this game specifically, they're both at it because Lucifer's the light. So you have that false light person bringing you over, and he's actually like in that energy where they think they're trying to help. He actually is that where they think they're trying to help. But then the satanic energy is no, they are on purpose trying to crush you down and bury you under because they want you out of spirit. That's what I was constantly plagued with. You talked about darkness. I would get plagued with darkness without even trying to channel, just by simply switching out of atheism into believing in spirit would onslaught. All these things are probably waiting. And going into atheism was its own dark realm, but it would keep the dark entities away. Like I would actually have like visceral experiences of darkness. And it's so it's probably the when you go through the fire, you get purified though, right? And now you can
yes,
see it. And I had my own experiences with these people earlier on, and like you could tell they were like, only think what I tell you to think, and this information I'm getting is the only truth. Everybody else is wrong. And it's like, that's such a red flag for people. They need to see this. So it's amazing that you can see it. And what you say right there is discernment. All these people that you're listening to, and it's nothing wrong with us having community. And I even tell my own watchers this all the time. Like, I am pulling in divine information, but I'm only a human. This brain gets twisted up. If something I say pings is false, then don't believe it like, don't like let that fall away. You know what I mean? Let that not stick
yeah,
just because I have said it. Like, if someday I do get a huge following that are like, you speak only the truth, because I'm like a minister now too. One of the reasons I did that is because we're running out of people. I do want to be a guiding light for people, but I am a human guiding light, and that's we can get entities. I would love to ask you about that 16% light, because we're moving into that like fifth dimensional space, which isn't looking how any of them said it would, but the truth is there that, like, you even mentioned it earlier, how like darkness is just not getting into you anymore like it used to. Me either. I think a lot of that is our own personal work, but then as we do this work, and this is why I'm passionate about it, it makes it easier for everybody else to do the work, and then we are raising the whole frequency of the earth. So tell me about the 16% of pure light. There are humans today living in that pure fifth dimensional place then?
yes, yes. And many of them are actually going to be ascending out and going to higher dimensions soon. I just found this out this week, actually. There's going to be some of us that are taking the place. So, like the people here that have been like the main leaders and stuff that are of that light and everything, they're going to be leaving to go on to the higher dimensions, and they're going to be putting some of us in their place. They're going to be showing them who we are beforehand, and then they're going to be expected to hand over like they're what they have over to us. Hopefully it goes well. They said there could be people in their ego, so we'll wait and see that. But yeah, like right now it is hard, and this is the biggest thing right now because you can be living in the fourth and fifth dimensions, and it's a hard adjustment because we're also having to coexist in the third dimension still. So, it's very hard for people to understand at first, or they'll beat themselves up and be like, oh, I feel like I'm not, I was just in this dimension and now I'm not. And they'll beat themselves up. But it's like, this is what we're meant to do right now, because we're still, both worlds are here. So we have to go back and forth. You could go around your family or this or that, or work. And then all of a sudden you're having to go into that three-dimensional world. But then in your own time, you're back up here in the higher dimensions, and that's okay. That's what we have to do at this time. But the separation is coming pretty quickly. I was just seeing some fascinating videos online about this actually, and somebody catching footage of like literally seeing that dimension the other day, and like it's insane. And the picture, like one half of it was at a football game or whatever, and like half the team on the other side, they were all demonic. Like their faces, you could see the pictures were all distorted. And then like the other side, like no, those kids were fine, but that's where that portal was too. It was like you see the split in the route, like it was so crazy. It's happening. But
Yeah.
oh, this is the best thing. They just told me to share this, and I'm excited to share this. They are saying stop focusing on the darkness because it has been taken care of. It is official. It
I
is, it's
I've been
done.
told that too, that it's done. Like we still have to, it's like when you close off the leak, right? It's closed.
Mhm.
No more is getting in. The flood is stopped, but the basement's still flooded and we have to clean it up. And there's still
Yeah.
water in there and you have to clean it all up or it's going to go moldy, right? Like it's going to
Yes.
fester. So there is still humans with darkness in them. Most of them are like being taken literally off the planet, like people are leaving en masse and their soul has chosen to do it. But I don't, it's not like we want everyone to perish, but there are that they have to go or they have to let the entities go, which means relinquishing ego, like you were saying. And that's going to be like the process that we've probably both been through, but years prior, which is like actually like almost like a self exorcist where you have to let that ego just like, as you
Yeah.
like, because it's going to let that entity go.
Yeah.
And they're going to like leave as soon as they see we are a vessel of light. They're going to go en masse. And then this is why I focus my teaching on coherence, because for the average person, just simply staying in coherence in that like middle pillar Christ consciousness space, it's the all the sage you need, of course, sage and selenite to keep pure. But like if you are in that balanced place of discernment comes naturally, like you are safe. But what are your tips and tricks to tell people, like if they're like Christina, what do I do? How do I forget me? I'm like, they're in that last stage where it gets almost worse before like the dawn. What would you tell them to like safeguard themselves, stay pure, and let the entities just like flood off in ease?
Yes, like you have to understand right now too, a lot of us we are dealing with a lot of craziness and chaos because as these frequencies are raising here on this planet, it has been making it unlivable for these beings. So the people that have entities in them, they are getting very cranky, irritable. They are starting stuff with people everywhere you go. So that is something we're experiencing, but you're also experiencing at the same time a lot more light, a lot more people just expressing that beautiful love light energy and sharing that out. So it's beautiful. You're getting to see both of it. One thing I always recommend to people, especially if you are in the process, you were just removing entities. I love that you were just talking about that. That is the example of still have stuff to clean out. This is what I tell people when you're clearing out an entity. Take some salt every day, a little bit of salt, and then if you have lavender, it's is the best. But you could use just regular water too, and you make a paste. Put it on the back of your neck every day and once a day is all you got to do. When you do this, it helps actually break down that residual energy they have left in your auric field. This is the problem. When you remove them, it doesn't just go away right then. It has a little bit of residual energy that's built up in your aura, and it takes weeks for that energy to make its way out. So the attachment isn't there, but that you still feel their energy as if they are. And if you believe that that attachment is still there, you will actually welcome it back in and give it permission back in. So that's where the paste comes in handy because it like cuts your time down in half. It could be like 2 weeks and then it's gone. You don't notice it anymore. But the most important thing is your thoughts. You got to know that they're gone. You got to know that because is if you allow them back, it just allows them right back in. You're opening that door saying, "Come on back in. I was just kidding. I didn't mean that when I kicked you out. I was just sorry. I got carried away. Come on." Like you don't want to do that. So, and the number one thing is knowing your power. This is our biggest ally, and it's like the hardest thing for people to really grasp and start embodying. Know that your words create reality, that you can speak things into existence, and it is your job to take your place in this world and say, I realize my power and I'm going to be sovereign and I'm going to start commanding how my life goes and take charge of it. And do that every day. When you wake up in the morning, state what you want to happen. When you go to bed, state what you want to happen that next day. That is your role. Until you start doing that, until you take charge and start commanding this, it's okay for all these other entities and beings and people to come in and have control over what happens in your life. And this is where your life's filled with chaos. So when you start waking up every day and you're like, no, I run the show, I realize my power. I do not allow anything in my auric field, anything that is not of my divine I am presence, I command out of here. You place up your protection, and you can clear it out. You could call on fire dragons to help clear out any energy around you, any space. One thing I love is for protection And when you do this, they say it's up for like 48 hours. I still always do it every day. Like anytime I go to do work, I call it in just to make sure, because I make sure when I work with anybody, I'm not going to take any chances of not being protected. Their energy is in my hands. So I've got to do whatever it takes to make sure that I'm not harming anybody. But I call on Archangel Ambriel, and he is the keeper of the white flame. And you ask him to surround you in his white fire, and you just say like a little mantra. I always say, when I stand within these flames, I stand in the light of truth, and I stand guarded, shielded, and protected from all outside influences that may try to wish me harm or anybody I'm working on. And when you do this, it's instantaneous. Like whenever I've had interference on, like, say we're doing this right now, we're on a live, and you start hearing static and like all these like tech problems and the sound problems, and that means there's entities trying to come in and interfere. The second I would say that, literally you could hear like a pin drop on the call. It was like instantaneous, they cleared that out. So I love using that. It's so quick and easy, and it works every time. And there ain't nothing that can cross that fire and interfere with your work. So that's an easy one. And you guys can use that every day when you want to protect yourself. Use it. If you're around somebody and you feel they're trying to attach to your energy and you know it's not good, when you're standing there, take your thumb like this. You're going to cup it like this. Or, no, I'm sorry. You're going to take your hand, make like a circle, and you cup your thumb. This is closing off your energetic field. Nobody can come into your aura whatsoever. You were then protected. So as you're just sitting there and somebody's talking to you and you kind of feel like they're trying to attach, just do that. They'll never be able to attach to you.
That's probably an
Yeah.
actual mudra. I'm all
Mhm.
about mudras. That's amazing.
That is a good one. So, because we deal with it even from people that, in our life, and they don't realize they're toxic, or maybe don't realize they have the entities, and they are just trying to get to you the whole time. And that you're shooing every time, like they can't interfere. So that's always good to have. Besides for entities, you got to know how to deal with the everyday people that have them in there too, because that's what we're realizing now. Like the angels and the entities, they've all been in bodies this whole time, and they're living through other people. And they can jump person to person as well. I keep telling people all the time. I have one friend, I'm like, doesn't matter where you go. She keeps running for, like, I don't want to be around my family's house. And I'm like, but then you're going over here. And guess what? That entity's just jumping over there. I'm like, because you're not hanging out with the right people. And those people are able to get attachments, as long as they're not living right, and an attachment can go in there. That same entity will jump person to person to person. So you can't run from it. You're going to have drama everywhere. And she does. Like, and so you got to start learning these things and realize them. Know also your weaknesses. This is my number one teaching with people. It's not just great to know your strengths. You want to know your weaknesses. If you know that you have a kind heart and you end up feeling, people know this and they try to, make you feel bad, and you go around them and it's going to be a bad situation, and you're going to end up caving, and it's just, don't go around them. Know what is not your strong points. I'm sorry. What is not your strong points, and avoid them. Do not put yourself at risk. Your energy is the most important thing you have. And you've got to realize what self love is. Self love is also saying, okay, I know it's going to be putting myself in a bad situation if I go around these people, and it's probably going to hurt me. So I'm going to love myself today, and I'm going to choose to stay away from that and avoid that. So that way I'm not having to pick up the mess later from going around them, because it is a lot harder. The more and more attacks, and the more and more you help people and they like feed off of you and just keep taking from you, it beats you down. And then, when you keep doing that, it breaks you down to a point where you can't even pick yourself back up anymore. And none of those people are there that have been using you. You're on your own. And to have to get that energy again and not feel depleted again, it takes a lot of work. And it's just you there. Nobody to help. So they always say you've got to protect yourself and not even put yourself in those positions anymore. Learn the lessons that you were meant to learn from everything. You're either here for one of two things. You either came to get more love, or, to learn self love. It's all about love or wisdom. So if you, as a soul, felt that you have more wisdom than love, then you're going to come here in this lifetime and you're going to have to experience love, self love. That usually means a lot of bad relationships, people not treating you the way that you should be, which is fine. It is a lesson. The beautiful thing is when you heal and you come full circle, you will sit there and be thankful for everything you went through. All of your hard times, everything that you're complaining about right now, and you think you can never get over and you never can forgive and you don't know how you're going to do this, it will actually be your victory. It will be what catapults you into your future and that you're able to build upon. And you will not regret one moment of it. These lessons we truly do need. When you learn them, you start to see that. You start to see the growth that came from learning those experiences, and you wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. One time Source told me, he's like, I took away all your self worth, all your self respect. I took everything from you. And he's like, but did I not build you back up? Have I not shown you your worth, your value? You will never let anybody come into your life and even jeopardize for 1 second taking you from where you are now, and they're right. I mean, and I feel amazing. So it's like you can't even be upset about it now when you see. And the best part is when you get to help somebody, when you see that they're going through something you went through and you're able to help them. And when you see that joy come over them, when, you just solve that problem or gave them that information that they never thought they could find, it is the greatest feeling ever. And that's what keeps you wanting to do more and help more people. And that's where the victory is. You realize that all those experiences have gained you this wisdom, and now you can use that wisdom to help other people, and it's a beautiful thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I feel that so much. There's a thing I always use that like expands out and shows like the energy body. It's one of the kids' toys. But because it's just that when you go through your own blocks and breaks, like I agreed like 1,000% with everything you just said. Like literally, absolutely everything. I could not like love it enough because that's exactly what it is. And I love conveying it to people in as many words as it takes because you said that in a much different way, but like a way more beautiful, like that's exactly what it is. You do have that gift for vulnerability. I'm always explaining it in a stupid nerdy way, like, well, not stupid about myself, but I'm like over analytically explaining it logically, where it's like that was just the heart of it right there. But like you see that, and it's like I see the energy field like the matrix is, and like that pain every time it's taking that balloon and stretching it out permanently bigger and bigger and bigger. So it's just that. And I heard you say in one of your other interviews about, and I wanted to ask how you're so sure, because I want that assurances, because I feel that myself, that you've been through all this, nothing will ever knock you down like that again, because you know too much for that to ever knock you down again. Like I feel that. But you said that like that God, the divine, I forget what you called it at the time, but that the divine told you that's never going to happen again. Like you are clear. Like how do you feel that absolute surety in the self that you are protected like 100%?
It's faith, and they will keep, I mean, they keep bringing me signs. They keep bringing me the messages and in a million different ways. So much so, I mean, it has gotten to the point now, like I have even these darker energies, the demons of the world, they're now protecting me. They look out for me. If somebody sends black magic my way and everything else, they're there and they're making sure it doesn't happen and it goes right back to those people that sent it to me. And that feels amazing. And I now have gotten to that point where they can't touch me anymore. They can't cause me harm. When you do the work and you play this out and you stay strong and you don't give up, faith is everything. It really is. Like that, this is what Source has told me the whole time and what's got me where I am. And has made me so successful with it and have my accomplishments. It was my faith. I would not stop believing no matter what. And I'm telling you, my if I started telling you guys what I've went through over the past few years, your mind would be blown. I would meet people and they're like, I was just telling them I remember just my week that week, and they were like, "How are you still here alive?" Like most people I know would have killed herself, and you're sitting here smiling. I was like, "Oh, that ain't nothing. Let me tell you about the week before that." Let me tell you about. We went through like the past few months. They're like, "Oh my gosh, like seriously, how are you here?" And I'm like, I'm stubborn. Like when I see somebody want something from me so badly, like to, destroy me or something like that, it's the last thing you're ever gonna get. I'm that stubborn. I'm like, nope, sorry, it's not gonna happen. And I've had my children taken from me. The legal system completely, my like laws or rights didn't matter, nothing, and their family, their grandparents had money. I didn't. So it was like they bought my children. I wasn't even able to stick up for myself in court. I wasn't even able to defend myself when I had proof of every single last thing they said not true. Didn't even matter. And that's the worst thing. You take a person's children from them.
That's one of the
But
worst
it was
fears.
also
Yeah.
it was a part of my soul contract, though. I was meant to. And even I can't even complain about it too, because it's part of what my kids signed up for as well, part of their soul contract, because it's going to help catapult them into their future and what they're meant to do. But there's many of us that have that road that we take on here. We could not have healed ourselves. I wouldn't be here today if I had my kids. If I had my kids this whole time, I was a single mom. I was doing it always by myself, even when their dad was around, and it was killing me. Like, that's 3 kids all by yourself. It's a lot of work for anybody. It's more work than most 2 parents can handle, let alone one doing it. And I would have never been here. I would not be talking to you now. I would be still filled with all my traumas, unhealed, and a mess. So many of us in the light worker community, we have to, for a little bit, be away from our children, and God then later on brings them back in. And it's so we can heal. It's so we can get whole and we can be our best self. God isn't, God sees what we go through as being a parent. You're on the go all the time. You don't get much of a break. It's hard to have a life of your own just outside of your children. So with us healing, that's the number one important thing. So some of us, we've made that sacrifice. We've known that we were going to have to do things that were going to be really hard coming into this life. But to us, it was worth it for what we're bringing forward for everybody. It was a sacrifice we're willing to make to be here to help shift this planet back to where it needs to be. And so these are one of the many things you see on this journey and that people are going through. There's all these different stories. And I was going to say, how you explain the things and you're saying the analytical and everything is beautiful that way. Cause you know what? There's people that are going to relate to only how you describe it. They might not relate to me. We're all different. We're all these little fractals of source that we are all individualized, and we've got to pick our own path, and we all have different little ways of doing stuff that works for us. How I speak, you ever hear somebody and they're saying something and you've heard it before, but just the way this one person said it, it clicks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yes.
we're all different. You got to find that one that clicks with you. So there's going to be tons of people out there that are analytical and their mind works just like yours, and they're going to love you because they're going to get you. They're going to understand the way you're delivering it. And they might not understand me as to where the next person. So this is what we're all different. I want to I'm so glad they're telling me to talk about this, and I love it. I love it because this came to my mind last week. They're always telling us on this journey, if you pay attention, to what these people are saying out there, they're always like, this is the way, or you have to do this, or this is the only way for this. No, stop that with everything. There is no one way. Okay. In spirituality and everything, you would be blown away at how many things they tell you. This is the only way you could do this, and this is the only way. And guess what?
Yeah.
No, I've done it. My journey was not like that.
Yeah.
Complete opposite. Or they say you can't do this and get this. Yes, you can. I have. And it's understand that each person's journey is different. You signed a soul contract, they signed one, and you create them yourself, and they're all different. It all depends on that soul and where you're at on your journey and what you came here to accomplish. Some of us, like me, I didn't come in here with karma, and I'm not here to work out. I'm not here to, evolve. I'm already ascended. I come here at the beginning and the end of all these shifts to help teach and reseed myself in this earth. So it's like, we're all have different things we're here for. We all have different end games and goals. So nobody's journey is going to be alike. You're all going to have different things.
Yeah, that's one thing I'm always saying is about the 8 billion different opinions. Like with every 8 billion people, there's 8 billion different matrices over the earth of what's holding us in. And this is why collectively changing our minds matters, because we're going to collectively sync up the matrices controlling the thought patterns of the earth, like, which goes back in is a little bit of a side step with there where you were saying about people having to not go back to their bad thoughts because they let those entities back in. You said that a while ago, but that is a huge fact that people need to realize. Like even experiences when you get, which I did, even though I'm not Christian, but I understand that it's a very, very powerful thing to do, is those full water bath submerging, and you come out all clean and clear, and it actually does wash away a ton of entities. And whatever it is, if you go to a sound healing, bath healing, whatever the healing is, you will be rid of entities after a lot of them. Your stronger ones aren't going anywhere, but like the base level ones that can be washed away will be gone. But if you think those thoughts that they were living on, like as their food, they'll come running right back, just like any mouse would to a house you leave cheese out for, like that they're going to live and breathe off that. And then I love what you said there about your
Yeah.
journey, how we all like have different journeys. And sometimes it's quite extremely painful, but like the bigger the pain, the bigger the lesson, the bigger the expansion, the bigger the downloads. Like it's all in that biggering process, which is why I push people need to push. If you push yourself further, like what you're doing now, what I'm doing now, then God doesn't need to step down and do those lessons because you are choosing to take on the mountain yourself. Like whatever the mountain is, it's different for everybody, right? And if you
Yeah.
choose to do that yourself, you are causing that expansion because God just wants that expansion. Like, right, especially right now. Like sometimes we're in a shrinking phase of humanity. We're not right now, though. We're in an out phase. Like this whole next 2000 years will be an out phase for sure, at least on that level. I mean, there's always the mini, like that logarithm, right? It's always in different place. But one thing I definitely want to ask you about before I forget is you mentioned putting that pace back there on the spine.
Mhm.
I do that. I do that with anything. So like right now, I keep sage here. I put it, is that because that's the closest space we feel the actual spine? Because I always say we pretty much are the spine. We exist in the spine. Like our consciousness is the spine. That's why Kundalini yoga and all that is like, because the soul is like using the spine and the neural network to actually exist, like the spine itself. So is that why you think, or what's your reasoning for saying right there?
They also say this is where source actually goes in and attaches as well, but that's where entity attaches at. Like for them to do a full possession on somebody, they have to break through and they attach right here. But see, God, that your aura, that's your protector. You know, God's made it so thick. It can take them years to break down and break it down to where they can finally get through it to do a full attachment. There's 3 stages to doing a possession, you know, that they and so the full possession is actually very hard because they made it so thick. But usually entities, that's where you're going to find them. They attach at the nape of your neck there. And usually if you see them on somebody or something like that, that's usually where you're always going to see them is attached somewhere. Like they'll be riding their back or something like that. And that's why they have to attach at that spot. That's the one spot that they're able to attach to, or they have to attach to, something like that.
Yeah, I definitely sense it without knowing why. Like it's one of those things I'll just like I trust. But then the one thing that okay, what's with angel wings? Because I feel like a wing. Do you think it's connected to that? Do you feel a sensation that you have wings? Like I
Yeah, I
feel
do.
that I'm supposed to have wings, and I can even kind of energetically like move them, and that's where I feel like just something like there's something back there.
Yeah. I've gotten a few of my sets of wings back already. And yes, many people have a lot of people if they've always had back problems like in certain spots, you know, upper shoulders, lower back and stuff, that's usually the wings. It's a lot of times that's why. Um I do want to share though a concept. I know we were just started talking about the wings, but just real quick on the lower energies. If you guys haven't realized, a lot, it blew my mind when I learned this at first. And now when I tell people, they can't believe when I say it, but then when I describe this, they're like, it makes sense. But entities are actually parasites. They're parasitical energies,
Oh,
which
100%.
most of us have. You know, yeah, we should be getting to clearing out our system twice a year, every 6 months, and people
Pork.
don't realize it.
Yeah, pork. There's a reason they said don't eat pork in the Bible because it's actually going to put negative entities in you because it's so filled with parasites and there's no way to get clean pork, organic or not. It's filled with parasites. Yeah, keep going though,
Yeah.
but I agree.
Yes, it's beautiful. Like, and see, that's once you get them, they have all this bile and stuff that like that falls out from and then goes into the bottom of your stomach whenever they're inside of you. So then what happens is that's what cancer cells love to feed off of. So like if you have cancer, the best thing to do, there's a new treat. I want to tell you guys about this. It's so amazing. I'm excited because you know they've been talking about all this new technology that would be coming in the future for us. Well, like some of it's
Mhm.
already here. There's one they call it the Firefly. It is machine is using light technology. It's just light frequencies. And they have this machine. It can literally scan and tell you where exactly how many different parasites you have, where they're at in your body, everything. And they can treat them. And it turns out these parasites, most of the time, like dementia, stuff like this, a lot of the big diseases and stuff that are health problems that people have, they're all attributed to these parasites, and we didn't realize it this whole time.
What's the
And they can be
technology called?
treated.
I'll write it. I'm going to write it in the comments for the people. Firefly?
It's Firefly. Yes. Let me
Firefly.
look up the name real quick of the website. Yes.
Okay, great.
My
Well, I'll
friend,
post that in the comments then for
and they
everyone
have
below.
practitioners everywhere too. They because they have like some fireflies that are portable. So
Yeah.
they're not able to do the big tests when they're portable, and tell you which is what, where something is specifically, but they're able to treat you for a million different things with this Firefly.
Oh
But
yeah.
there's the offices though that also have them with the big machine that can tell you. It's amazing what this can do. I'm telling you, it's just like mind boggling what all it can help with. But parasites, there's some that get to the brain up here that are really bad that you really want to treat.
Mhm.
There's all the ones in the stomach, and they're this is where I tell people how you can see where it's an entity. It's a two-dimensional being that doesn't have it, it needs somebody else's life force to sustain life. And they're able to attach the parasites are able to there's certain ones that can attach to your brain. Okay, they're able to go right into your neurological system and they're able to relay whatever messages they want to you, just like demons do. They're sitting there communicating with you, and when you believe that that's your voice, you actually give them your power. Then they have more power over you than you do when you sit there and think that that's your own voice and don't
Mhm.
realize it's something else inside of you.
Oh yeah.
So this thing totally eradicates them. It gets rid of them. And I mean, it's you feel so good while you're doing this too. And afterwards, it's like the greatest thing ever. Just some lights that they're scanning over your body and literally can rid you of all these problems that have been plaguing us. And even in our medical industry, a lot of times they've been going in and telling people they had cancer and they were going to go cut out a tumor. You know what they went in and did? They were just removed a bunch of the parasites from their body, but they charged them thousands and thousands of dollars to cut out a tumor they never cut out. So this is most of our ailments and our problems that we have, and they've been keeping it from us. So we have to be conscious of this and realize, coming into awareness of this and start taking back our power and realizing, like, I need to start taking control over my health and what I'm doing, and I need to start, looking into these things and you know pursuing these different health modalities
Oh yeah.
because we've been lied to about everything, and it's
Oh
so
yeah.
sad. And I love this technology because it's something so simple and it gives us our power back and it heals something that is like taking over this world really badly. I mean, almost everybody you meet's going to have these parasites now and they don't even know it. And that's what breaks my heart. They don't even realize what's going
Yeah.
on.
They're living their whole lives and letting a thing speak for them. And they can tell the difference. I try to get people to see it in my own life. Like they'll be talking as themselves one minute and next minute something will trigger them and they'll like literally their voice will change, their facial expression will change. And I'll be like, where is this instinct coming from? And they'll look inside and there's nothing to latch it to. They're like, "Oh, but you just," and I'm like, "That's your perception on it. That's not actually what happens." Like, this, why is something telling you to feel this way? There's a reason. They're eating you. They're eating that fear. They're eating that anger. They're eating that whatever the negative emotion is. They can even eat sadness. And we don't want to bottle up our sadness, but they can eat it too. So it's like you have to be careful and know what you're doing. And clearing health is how I got started in the spiritual world, like actually clearing up my own medical issues because I was riddled with problem after problem, autoimmunity. Because you mentioned cancer. Cancer, at the end of the day, is an autoimmune disease. It's the last leg of the autoimmune disease before you're out. And like parasites are such a problem that people don't understand. And not only are they keeping this information from us, they're pumping us with the things that are going to create the parasites and then feed the parasites because they also live and eat off the sugar and stuff. Like as much as they love and create this emotional stuff, and I'm sure their spirits live off it, but their physical
Mhm.
body, just like our physical body, needs actual food too, which is for them sugar and any other of those toxic foods. So you can kill them as well just by cutting out the sugar. Like you were saying, doing cleansing like twice a week. That's amazing. I intermittent fast. That's what I just do to keep myself. And I'll do a few days, like up to 3 days I've gone like in fasting because it's just you're a new person after like the whole birthing the self again. That'll do it.
If you guys want to know if you have parasites too, that is the best thing to do. Fast for the day. Try to fast because I guarantee you won't make it through the day without having a pounding migraine if you have a parasite. Because that's what they'll do when you're not giving them that sugar and they need that sugar. They will then make you have that headache trying to force you to go eat so they can get that sugar that they need. So that if you want to know, because it is hard with tests if you go to a doctor, there's a test they can give you, but actually they send it off to a lab. And by the time the lab gets it, the parasite's actually dead now. So then they don't end up finding it. So it is very hard to pinpoint it with going to a medical practitioner. So I would just, that's the best way to test it. And if you don't have it and you fasted, hey, guess what? You fasted and it's always going to be beneficial for you. So either way, it's going to be good. You can figure out if you got one or not.
Exactly.
But
I would assume they do. I say you do. You do. If you're eating any kind of a Western diet, you do.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
even I probably do, and I try really hard not to. But it's like I'm gluten free, I'm dairy free, I intermittent fast, I do it all. But like in this world, like it's impossible.
Now, I've heard of a story, like, these things can actually there was a girl that she had one, and she didn't realize it, though, but it got bad. She was in the hospital at this point. Her parents came to one of her old friends to talk to him, who was a healer, and they didn't even believe in any of this stuff, but they were desperate. Turned out, like, this girl had a, parasite that attached to her, and it was all stemmed from a rape that happened to her in her college years. Now, the reason she was raped was because of that parasite. It went and possessed somebody else just to rape her so it could attach to her energy. And see, what they do is they replay that trauma constantly in your brain. Every day they're bringing it up again and again because that's what gets them to keep their hold. They need that pain, that trauma to be able to stay attached. So at this people, if you're always just always having the same traumas replay in your mind over and over and over again every day, and it's like torture, and you're like, how can I heal and get over this? You might have a parasite, and that's exactly why it's happening. When you remove that parasite, you remove those thoughts. You're removing that trauma from being constantly replayed in your mind over and over again. That's how you heal from it. You already know, and you're learning the thing you want to forgive and you want to let it go, but you're like, it just won't. It's always playing. That's why. It's this there's a parasite there, and it is trying to keep that attachment. So it has to keep you in pain. It has to keep you focused on that hurt, because that's how it gets to stay attached to you.
That's good. That's good validation in this too, because this is the thought that I like came up with like myself, but this is what I mean by the divine information just coming in. So like that entities were parasites, like that entities are using parasites to keep the physical because they're physical too. Like, I don't know, not necessarily every single entity there is, because there's all different types, but like the parasitic entity is a very prominent one, and one that like you can be as spiritually clean as you want, but if you're not food clean, you're still going to be putting entities in your body. And then the other way is true as well. If you're food clean, but you're not spiritually clean, then you can get like, I believe there probably is more powerful entities that don't need that physical like body, just like there's
Yeah.
angels that don't need a physical attachment. Two, there's also entities that are stronger, probably the more demonic types that don't need a parasite. They can get you no matter what. Like when you mentioned about the person that got raped, that is a common occurrence. Like the whole sex industry today of the children's sex slaves, that's not really existing because actual humans are that obsessed with children. That's like for that amount of humans to be, that's not, humans are not that evil. There's not that many evil humans, but there is that many infected humans. And there is that many entities wanting to get into the children. And they're doing that not because I mean, I'm sure there's entities that care about the adults' experience in it, but the majority and the more satanic like powerful ones would be the ones that want into the children, and the ones that are going to feed off those children. And why, like, for their short-lived, like some of them grow up to be adults and then stay in that world because they know nothing else, because they're so riddled with entities now that like now they
How do
just
you
stay.
heal too? How do you heal after all that? I mean, they've went through some excruciating, because that's the point. They want to put those kids through the most excruciating trauma. They're either using it to take that,
Oh,
chemical
that
in their brain that we
chemical, yeah,
create,
yeah.
mhm, or it's just to screw that soul up too and feed off that energy. And it's so scary to hear how some of them have lived. So I could there's some that, I mean, God is literally having to wipe that soul. He's doing them a favor by doing it, because there are some that have went through such traumas, they will never that soul will not be able to heal from it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. It's been that bad. And yeah, that's where there is definitely beings that are not meant to be here, that were not created by source, that have been causing a lot of this going on. It is funny. There is two different layers of even darkness. You have those demons that are here and they're working for source. Somebody's got to be the villain playing the bad roles and
Yeah.
teaching us the lessons. But we needed the lessons. So they're actually working actually for you. They're helping you.
Yeah, like that Satan energy and that Lucifer energy come down with
Mhm.
the Christ. So they actually are like God approved.
Yeah.
Like they have the seal of approval, where I bet you the lower ones that are not technically made by source, but like everything is in that way, but they weren't decidedly made by source in that way. I bet you Satan's demons are making their own demons. Like they're trying to like, it's like filtering down like the clone thing, a copy of a copy of a copy. So they just get sloppy, gross. And that's where it's just like that parasitic thing, like where they're just living to survive and they're not even overly serving our purpose, except that we can make everything serve our purpose. So, but like they're not actively part of a noble truth. They're just, in the way.
Remember, we create our own too.
Yeah.
We create demons too. So many people don't realize that. But when you hold on to anger, hurt, all these things, when you hold on to that, it ends up creating an entity. That anger, that hatred, that that you had ends up turning into a demon. And now it's attached to you. So it's like that's why we say forgive. That's why we're like, you have to work on yourself. You got to heal yourself because this is what you'll create. And you don't realize how you're all that suffering you go through with these attachments, it was self-inflicted. You did it to yourself by not forgiving, not being able to see that you just need to move past something. There's no need to hang on to anything, really. You're supposed to gain something from every experience. There's a lesson there. There's no reason though to carry all that pain and suffering with you after that. Just see the experience or the lesson you're supposed to learn from the experience. You give yourself unconditional love and understanding and forgiveness over it and anybody else involved and put it behind you. We don't need to beat ourselves up for the rest of our life about it. You're not hurting those people. Whoever hurt you, you're not hurting them by holding on to it. You're hurting yourself. That's the funny part. And they would do it again. I mean, you staying angry at them, it doesn't change anything. They would still do whatever they did again. They knew what they were doing when they did it. It was going to hurt you and they still did it. Many of them are doing it for you. Is what you don't realize. We have soul contracts, and many of the people that hurt us in our lives, they are our soul family. They came here to help you, and they said, "Hey, where do you need me? I totally love you and support what you're doing on Earth. I'll come with you. What do you need me to do?" So they're the ones helping you learn these lessons. So this is where you have to understand and have that forgiving heart, because you don't realize all these people around you, they're just playing a part too. They're programmed, and they will stay doing the same things and hurting, the same little programs and their characteristics and they're hurting you and being toxic, they will stay that way until you learn the lesson. I've seen it. Like some people, you say they'll never change. You literally think there's no way they will ever be a good person. And then all of a sudden you figure out the big lesson that you had from that experience and their life transforms. All of a sudden you're like, look at me. You couldn't do that when you were me. And it's like they weren't allowed to. They were programmed. They were playing their part. And so now you actually freed their soul. Now they are free to go evolve and be who they really want to be. They don't have to be that person now because you learned that lesson. So you're actually kind of trapping that soul as long as you are refusing to learn that lesson that you're experiencing that for.
It's so true. And it doesn't even have to be a past relationship. I've experienced it with my like current, like my only husband. Like we've been together forever. And he used to do all this behavior that would really like trigger me. And in this way that like would bring out my demons. And I'd be all obsessed that he was, oh, but you're letting, this is when I was earlier in my awakening and I'd be obsessed about demons and stuff. But then I just let it go. And I realized that I was the only one that could heal demons. Right. And that I just let all that go and did all the work. And this is a while ago, and it's been years now. And his behavior completely changed without like, it's nuts. Cause like,
He's your mirror. He's your mirror. He sounds like a twin flame. And that's what they
it's,
do. They come in and they mirror what you need to heal.
yeah, it's totally, we definitely have that. It's funny too, getting into this. And I'm like, oh, I'm already married. I don't have a twin flame. Like after I learned about all this stuff. But then as the years have gone on, I'm like, oh, I think you are.
Yeah. That's what, as soon as you started mentioning, I was like, yeah, that's him. That's gonna be your twin. And that's what I realized that too. And that's what helped me actually start really evolving on the journey and going through getting the lessons learned that need to be learned. I realized like my ex, whenever we were talking and stuff, or I was upset with him, I would go to text him, like write out everything that I'm mad about, but I wouldn't send it. I would go to read it back. And the first time I did this, I was mind blown. All of a sudden, I'm just reading it. I was going to send it, but until I read it, because when I started to read it back to myself, I actually seen how that was something I needed to heal. The thing I was mad at him about was what was something I was doing. So that's what I started to do every time I got mad. I'm like, okay, let me read it back. And every time, I don't know why. It's like I don't know if my higher self was just there making me see it finally or something. But it's like when I read the words, all of a sudden, it's like it was plain as day. I was like, oh, that's something I actually do. Like, no. And I can't lie to myself. Like, once I see something, I have to like do something about it. If I don't, I will torture myself every day. Like, I can't continue to just keep doing the same things that I know aren't good. So that was my saving grace is being like that. And that's how you can really evolve on your journey quick is realizing who's your mirrors like and if you got to be real. For one, do not care what other people think. You know, if you make a mistake, oh well, own it.
Yeah.
You're only hurting you're hurting yourself by not owning it. You know, if you're getting in your ego and you want to hold on to that pride and not say you haven't done anything, oh, I got it all right. I haven't done anything wrong. You're only hurting yourself actually. You're trying to keep your ego intact and stuff like you're helping yourself, but actually no, you're hurting yourself tremendously. You know, we are human. We came here to make mistakes. From
Oh, yeah.
mistakes, that's how we learn and we have growth. So don't care if you made a mistake. That's what you're here to do. So own it and don't care what anybody else has to say. It's not their journey, and the thing is they're not responsible for what happens on your journey. You are. So their opinion shouldn't matter anyways. Only yours does. And you have to live with yourself every day. So you might as well just own those things and realize, okay, made a mistake. What's new? I do it all the time. I mean, I can do the most stupidest things sometimes too. And I'm like the first one to go tell people, you ever do something and you're like glad that nobody caught you doing it? You know? Oh, I
Yeah.
do that all the time and there'll be a doozy. But me, I've got to share it with everybody. And I used to go to my partner, I'd tell me, like, I wish you didn't. I'm like, I had to share the laugh with you. And it's like, I just don't care. I'm like, if what anybody thinks about me, oh well, I'm being me. And you know how freeing it is now to not care about what other people think and to be like that. And that's why I tell people, especially when it comes to you and your healing, don't do not do that to yourself where you are just like refusing to see what you need to heal, not wanting to admit it. Because that's what's going to keep you stuck in that. You're trying so hard to get out of that stuck place, and to move past this. And it's like, it's never going to happen though, as long as you're like avoiding seeing your faults. We all have them. Anybody that tells you they don't, guess what? They are not in alignment and you should not be taking any advice from them. I don't care who you are on this earth. You will have you have more growing to do. You're going to have lessons. You got to learn them. It doesn't matter.
Oh, yeah.
You
Oh,
could
yeah.
be,
And if you don't listen to that lesson, like you were saying, like, well, then they'll just bring it to you a different way and you'll just get slapped twice now. Like, this is one of the main things I teach is no matter what your problem or issue is you're dealing with right now, it's probably your fault. Like, there's something like, yes, that other person's still like not excused, but that's for the divine to deal with. And your own
Mhm.
boundaries. Like, we could make no's and I'm not going to see you anymore, or I'm not going to let you treat me like that anymore. But ultimately, it was my fault sometime, or in some way that I left like a crack in the armor of my boundaries so that that could happen, or my energy was off. Like, I just killed a bird the other day with my energy, I swear. My daughter lost the van keys, which is serious because they're the only set, and we previously lost a set that were gone forever. So I was like, our van is gone forever because the keys are gone forever. And I know how silly she is. And so like the risk is she's lost an iPhone 7 permanently and an iPhone 10 permanently. Like, those are not cheap things to lose permanently. So she's not opposed to losing things permanently. So I was having a moment, which I know better than having moments. And we're driving in the car and a bird flies in front of the car and we kill it. And I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry, bird. This was my fault. But it caused me to immediately change my mood. I apologized to my daughter. And I was just nagging her, being a mom, like, how could you, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I'm sorry, it's fine. And we found the keys. She did have them in her room. I wasn't wrong, it was her, but like I cooled down, relaxed. The rest of the day was fine. We did find the keys, but it's like, I'm so sorry, bird. Because like the birds are the things of the spirit. So I feel like God was telling me, like, you know better. Like, I haven't.
It was a message.
Yeah. And the messages get more severe because I'm usually really good. Like, even if I get like slightly frustrated now, I'm immediately going like, okay, what's the trigger? And then you find the trigger. Okay, and then like it just blooms the solution, right? Like but if you don't go, this is my fault, you don't get any of that process. Immediately, you're just looking at them as an outside thing. It's your fault. That's it. There's no lesson. There's no expansion. There's just further karma and divine lessons. Like it's just all the bad. Where if you go, this is my fault, then it just opens the doors, right?
And I have been shocked at how many people in our community, they struggle with this. Many people in the ego big time. Like they would love me if they ever seen something that they knew I need to work on and they bring it up. They'd be waiting for a fight, thinking I'm gonna flip out. I'm like, no. One girl I used to have to tell her all the time. I'm like, she's like still trying to pick a fight with me, because she was just prepared for it. You know, she'd been planning it beforehand, thinking that was how the conversation would go. And I'm like, thank you. I'm like, now I know what to work on. You know, it's easier to see in other people what they need to work on. You could have the same thing and you can't notice it in yourself. So I'm like, thanks. And then I'd be like, I'm not arguing with you, Monica. You used to have to tell me that all the time. I'm like, I'm not going to do it. And, but then I go to them with the same thing. I would, there's something they would do and I would try to help them figure it out on their own, because that's how they truly learn. But when you see they're not, and it's causing negativity in your life, you finally got to say something. And oh my gosh, they turn on you so quickly. And it's like, and it breaks your heart, because you really just want the best for them too. They're your friends, you care about them. But a lot of times we end up having to distance ourselves from them too, because they've got a lot more journey to go on. They're still in that ego. And you guys got to realize this too in the journey. You got to honor yourself as well. Even they could be of the light, but if you see that they're doing that and like they're bringing that not toxicity in your life and they're not willing to see it, they're not willing to own it, you sometimes you need to separate your energy. You've got to put yourself first. Like I said, self-love is also realizing your weaknesses. And if these people are going to cause you pain and suffering, or bringing toxic energy in, and they're not willing to grow and work on it, it's time to walk away from them. Maybe you can come back together later on. They got more time on that journey, and if they learn that lesson and they start taking accountability for their, what they're doing, then you can go back around them. But you have to. That's something that you guys got to be aware of too. That's happening big time in the community. And don't be afraid to honor yourself and do that. And don't be afraid to speak up too. When you see they're doing these things, and if it's bringing toxicity in your life, you need to honor yourself. You've got to have a voice and you've got to use it. Because if not, you're going to end up beating yourself down. You're going to end up losing all your energy to this. You're going to get upset so many times to where you're just going to be a mess on the floor, and then you're going to be left there with nobody to pick you up. So honor yourself, realize this, and don't be afraid to step away. We hate when it happens. We all have such big hearts. It's light workers. We love so much. So breaking ties off with anybody is so hard for us, but it has to be done.
Oh yeah, it's vital, and it's one of the things I've learned in the last few years that has just caused like more elevation, like a rocket, versus trying to bring everybody with you, because it's not going to work. And your energy, I don't know if you've ever heard of the teacher James True. He calls himself a philosopher, but he said something really simple. I don't watch him a lot, but I saw him say this one thing about energy calories and how we need to think of our energy as a calorie. And it was one of those moments that just caused like a huge download. And I just saw it within the grid, and that it creates leaks in the grid, because when we mix with other people's matrix, we're crossing over. They're in ours. Like they've even scientifically tested that, like our energy body is way outside our body. So like this is scientifically proven. And when we're in those spaces with each other, literally in spaces, and it can happen even if you're talking to them on the phone, because you can energetically connect, or even just thinking about them will cause that energetic connection. And now they're leeching your energy. If somebody's actually in your energy field, and like as much as we all want to be like Buddha and Jesus, but even like Jesus had to step away and be alone to gain back in that energy. So if Jesus isn't excused, then we are never excused, and we need to maintain that. And it's sad, even in my own siblings, like they're the only ones I talk to. I pretty much got rid of everybody, because everybody in Canada is an atheist, like everybody. And so you're left with just like, not only are you not allowed, like, it's funny because woo-woo, people like woo-woo spirituality. Well, just believing in God in Canada is woo-woo. Like just like, so
I never
right.
knew that. You told me. Oh, it just blows my mind.
Yeah. And I was one of them at one point too. And I know the difference of having like I'm actually a happy person now. Like it's nothing but darkness and misery as an atheist, of go to work and then die. And then that's life. Like my dad's saying was, life's a bitch and then you die. Like that's, oops, I just swore, but that's like was his mantra of life. Like, and that's no place to be for any kind of happiness. And then that energy is just going to drain you down. And that's your dad. You want to make them happy. You want to find a way to do it, but they just won't. And then and even my siblings. Like, it's just, you just can't. And then I don't bother with that. I just got rid of, I still know but I don't arrange hangouts. I don't arrange seeing anybody. I'm just like, oh, too busy with the kids. Cause like, that's just, it's not there. And you got to protect yourself.
Sometimes, like with my situation, it turned out my mother, her entity had been able my whole entire life to attack me and attack, like almost like it's attached to me too, because we had an energetic cord. Since we had set a cord together, it was just able to go right through that cord and screw with me my whole entire life. So this is something that many people are dealing with out there too from their family. You know, you're born into this toxic family for a reason. You're there to transmute that karmic energy. And so that you are willing to do it. So you've got to realize a lot of them, those families are filled with entities. And if you have a bond with them, they can go through that cord and attach to you too. So that could be where all your chaos and struggling's coming from. Not to mention these people, they're very jealous of you. They see you're like, we are dealing with all that. They're putting curses on you all the time. And then you're going to share things that are fixing to happen to you and all this good stuff. And then it falls apart and it doesn't happen, or you don't get the job and you're like, what? Because you're sharing it with the wrong people, the ones that don't have your back. And you want to believe it's your family so bad and they couldn't do that and they're going to have your back. That's the bad move. Keep your mouth quiet for one. If you're trying to bring anything good in and do not say anything till you already got it. Don't tell anybody because that's what's going to happen. Even your best friend could end up, they don't even realize consciously that they're doing it a lot of times, but they could end up having jealousy or not wanting to see somebody else have something that they don't. And they end up sending bad things on you or, wish that you don't.
It's so true. And then you have people like, I don't know if you have this in your life, but I do, where people think, because I've always been very imaginative. I was always very into magic before I realized it was real. But it was Harry Potter and Game of Thrones. So when I got into that, I get it's just silly little Diana with her stories again. And I used to be a writer. Like I wrote a book. Like I lived very fantasy before. So they don't see, because it's been 10 years. This has been real for 10 years now. So that's not a little bit of 11 years actually now. So it's not a little bit of time that I've been this way. It's now getting to the majority of my, well, not quite, but it's getting, but still, oh, silly Diana with her silly ideas, like, oh, silly little Diana. And it's like, but they think they're being nice, but it's like, you just unvalidated my entire life.
And little do they know, it's so funny too, what they think is not possible and everything. It's like, I tell people this all the time. I'm like, you don't want to listen to spirituality or anything. And I'm like, for one, leave religion out of it. You leave religion out. Anything we teach you cannot tell me is not valuable for every single person here on this planet to follow. And there's no bad that can come from it, So it's like, just leave the religion out if that's such a problem for you guys to grasp this concept that maybe you don't know everything about this. But besides that, oh God, what was I just going to say? I lost it. What did you say?
I was just right on the new thought, though. I do that all the time.
I know, it's just like, it's gone. Oh gosh, what was my point with that one? Oh yes, I love to tell people though, I'm like, my world is so much more interesting than yours. I was like, I got dragons, I got fairies,
yes.
And they exist. Like,
and now they're real, because I love dragons before I found out that they were real, and we all have one. I've done meditations where I've connected with them. I even had like a negative entity get involved. Oh, it was so like actual transient, like actually viscerally feeling. It's amazing. You get to experience all this on the other side. But if you're going to not even, but it's funny because like you said, like religion can box you in. I've seen just as much as being an atheist, because I tried that's why I'm a minister. I tried going to church originally, and it was no better. It was almost worse, because it's like, how can you guys believe in God and you're still like in this box? Like that's not existing, and you're basically living just like the atheists I all know. It's nuts how it can keep you that way.
Most of the churches are following Satan and they don't realize it.
Yahweh, Yahweh, Satan. Do you believe that Yahweh is Satan? Like, yeah, do you know Gnostic, like Yelzebub, Baal, the Demiurge? They're all Satan, and Satan's all like, that's why I'm always like, if anything, I'm not a Luciferian, but have you heard that Christ and Lucifer are the same? Like, that's where I'm like, well, it's not going to stop me from going after Christ. So.
I don't know if I still think I think they're almost like two halves. Like, it's almost like a twin, like having a twin brother thing.
Yes. Yeah. We're what? Because Lucifer
but they're born at the same time, twin brothers. That's what they are. Twin
Yes,
brothers.
I could see that. Yeah, the Cain and Abel too, that would fall in because Lucifer, it's like he's too zealous for his father's attention. Like he's too light. He wants to skip the body mission and just be like the angels that we're kind of meant to be and not go through the long, slow process that the Christ is taking us through of actually making the physical body angelic, which that's why we're going through all this. It's the whole point is to get this body to evolve so that one day it is magic like we possibly were back in Atlantis, if you believe in that. But then we got greedy and lost it and had to start over. And
Yeah. See, I believe Satan and Lucifer are separate beings.
yes, me
I
too.
believe Satan is Anunnaki, who is also Zeus and also known as in Lil. He's been many things. Now, Lucifer, I think Lucifer is just playing a part, and that was the thing. When the darkness was started, that being stepped up to the plate and said, okay, I know that as a soul, for us to evolve, we've got to go through this darkness, so somebody's got to play that role. And so they stepped up to do it. So, and I know right now, like I've seen in my journey, now that person's coming to bat for me. Lucifer's coming to bat for me because I passed all the tests and I stuck, I would not give up. I took every attack, everything, and I still kept going. And so now they look up to me, that I was able to do that. And so they got my back. And that's brilliant. And they say now they're Lucifer's proud of me that I've been able to do all this and keep going with all those attacks and everything else. So now he's going after the people that have been sending bad things on me and actually trying to take me out. Now they've got to pay up because they didn't do their part. Many of these beings, they have like even your families and stuff that have these entities. They're trying to sell your soul. They made a deal to take you out. And there were certain guidelines that they had to follow. They couldn't just kill you, but they could destroy you.
Yeah,
The
Moloch.
point is
Have
to
you heard of
destroy you.
Moloch? Yeah, Moloch.
Yeah.
That demon, the demon.
Mhm.
Yes, I have felt
Yeah.
that energy on the family. Absolutely. Like
Yeah, and
that.
if they don't accomplish it, they go to them. Somebody's going to pay for it. They're going to take it from them. And see, that's where I'm at right now. And it's beautiful to see. Like finally, I'm not getting hit, and just finally see the people that deserve it getting it. Like, which I don't even care about that. I just want them out of my life. That's all I care about. But they are getting their karma. It is a 8-year, guys. 8 is actually more about balance than anything. Which balance means balance of energies, the karma. If
Mhm.
you've been good, if you gain good karma, you're going to have a great year. If you screwed over one of the light workers, oh, I feel so bad for these people this year. Like their bad karma's coming in.
I know. I've been thinking about that. I don't know what your sign. I'm a Sagittarius, so Jupiter, and it says right there, anybody with a heavy Jupiter influence, you don't need to worry about getting retribution because Jupiter will get it for you. Jupiter does not allow its people to be besmirched. Like it's just gonna naturally like bounce off. And I've noticed that not like but I want everybody to wake up and be happy and love. Like I want even the worst of people to just I would forgive any person anything that like even the worst of crimes today if they were like to have awakening and to be like, oh my goodness, the light, and without any retribution. If they saw the light and they're like, I'm done, then that's it. That's it. That's it. That's all you got to do. Like, there's no punishment necessary. Like even all the people in prison, if like a white light was to come down and they are all clean, open the door and let them out. Like, because that's all it takes. Any human, I think. There's rumors of the odd human not really being human and blah blah blah. But I think the majority of humans are all like angels. Like they all have that in them. And the darkness, the entities just need to get off. Like we are good. Like they say that humans inherently evil. It's that ego separation self. It's not ego or it's not evil. It's just used to separate us so God can forget he's playing a video game, basically. Like but it does seem to have a proclivity to attach to the eviler stuff.
Yeah, well, they've been using that stuff to control us this whole time and to keep us, under their power. It's all been fear-based stuff, constantly throwing it at you and making you feel like a sinner, you're going to hell. And it's all been a manipulation tool. It isn't like that at all. Source is not like that at all. Most loving people ever, give you a million chances. It doesn't matter. Like, and you don't get it right in this lifetime. All right, we'll try it again in the next. Like, and I can't even go into a church now. They wouldn't like it if I went to a church now. Like I can't be quiet when I hear them. Like if you hear them speak, it's such limiting thoughts and things they say to each other. Then they're all like talking about the blood of Christ and all this. I'm like, God, does that not
You
sound like
mean
a blood
witchcraft?
ritual to
Yeah.
you?
Blood
Like
rituals?
drinking the blood of Christ? Like, do you not see how that sounds like a freaking cult? Like a, you know, Oh, I
I agree.
make
That's,
makes me
yeah.
upset when I
Yeah.
say that, but I'm like, dude, that's the most common sense thing I've ever said right there.
Oh,
Do you
yeah.
not see how you're doing a blood ritual right now?
I tried, and I literally walked out of that church, it's literally right over there, and went to divinity school, like, immediately, and now I'm a reverend minister, like, of metaphysics, though, but, like, somebody's gotta do it right. It's not even, like, something I ever saw planned in my life, and currently it's just now on the internet, but it's like, I've been looking into buying churches because, like, they're going out of business left, right, and center. There's tons of them available. Some as low as 600,000, not that that's low, but, like, I am planning it out because there you need to be, you should, because do you know a lot of churches are built on ley lines? Like, I don't think that one is, it used to be a
Yes.
Legion, but churches are built on ley lines, so they are magical portals for us to go into, right? Like, especially the big cathedral ones, because they built them like with that in mind to harness the energy, you know what I mean? Like, all those things are built to bring in that energy, and they're owning it while they worship Satan. Like, it's like, that's not good
Well,
for the whole planet.
no, that's why it's so bad right now, and they put devices in the earth too that they run that's been amplifying it even more. But
Mm,
that's why they built them on these spots. They knew how it worked. They kept all that from us, though. We didn't
yeah.
know it. They've erased it
Uh-huh.
from our history and knowledge, and they've been using these for to pump more of the darkness in there. That's why a lot of us, like, we're all inspired. Like, there's so many of us, we've all gotten the same idea, and I know God told me that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm making light centers, is what they call them, and it's us, having a spot that's right there on the grid, it's in range of the grid, and it's coming together as a community, building communities and living off grid, growing our own food and this stuff and working together. And whenever you have high vibrational people doing that and you're on that grid line in that spot, then it radiates out.
Yeah, it
It's a
creates a whole.
it, we'll take back the grid then, and
Mhm,
it's a
mhm.
beautiful thing. And then when people also you know, they would be willing to try something if they see somebody else try it and it's successful. And so that's part of the great thing too, is other people see us doing this and see how great it is, and they're like, okay, now we'll try. And it's just going to spread like wildfire. It's like that domino. You hit one and then it's a chain reaction,
It's
so
true.
that's what we need to do.
It's true. It's funny because you say that, because people are like, all the sheep will need to wake up. No, because there's some people and they're just in that lower place, not a leader yet, that they're going to stay sheeple, and that's fine. But if enough
Yeah.
leaders come forward and they start leading, like the shepherd, right? Like, and they start taking over. And it's not like Carl Jung says you should never call anyone a sheeple because you're taking away their power, because every human has the ability to wake up and be that leader, which is great. And I do see that. But realistically, I still like, we need more shepherds.
I
Go
don't know
ahead.
if I agree with like everybody can, because there are people that the DNA has been pretty much watered down. There was these other beings that came here and kept messing with the DNA, and there's beings that literally their DNA's been watered down so much. That's why they can't wake up and grasp this stuff that we're talking about. They're incapable of doing it because their DNA has just been too diluted. They're not even able to grasp this stuff if no matter what you try.
I would
So
say I would
different.
agree on the. Oh, I totally cut you off. I said I wouldn't do that, but
No, you're fine.
I thought because technically, as per universal law, they would have to have something in them that's a chance that they'll wake up. Or it's the whole reason that Jesus came down to begin with, or however the Jesus thing happened, is that the rumor is, and this is a true fact of universal law, regardless, is that, how you were saying earlier, very early in our conversation, that they tell us the truth, but then also tell us the lie. They have to, because that's universal law. We have to always be presented with an opportunity or like the truth. So even if we think we're imprisoned in a dungeon, universal law shows that there is some way we could have gotten out of it or still could get out of it. Like, we are not allowed to be prisoners, and we are not allowed to be 100% lied to. That's how this whole thing can happen. People are like, oh, good God, allow it. And it's because you have always have the key. The key is like hidden in your pocket somewhere. And yeah, you're right though. Some people might be watered down where it's just like 1%. But that 1%, it has to be in there, or else they are a pure demonic spirit, because there's some people that have chosen that are that. Like, it's a really low percent, some less than 5% of humans have evil souls. Like, their actual soul is evil. And those are probably our 1% or billionaire maniacal people, though. Like, I doubt it's your average Joe that's going to actually have a dark spirit. But like but then they,
There's some that do. There's some that do actually.
I believe it. There's some, but then their soul still chose to be evil. You know what I mean? That choice point was still there.
It's a
And
choice.
Exactly. So they always have to have that point, but like it would seem that they're unable to wake up though. Like it definitely, I fix, you're like, is it knock knock?
Yeah.
Is anyone home? You know?
I love what you said a minute ago where you're saying people be like, I don't think God would let this happen. I so love speaking about this right now. Like, because everybody wants to blame God for everything, or how could God let this happen? There's all the people that are against God and like, oh, and he let babies die and this and that. It's like God didn't let anything happen. The thing is, when we came here, okay, other beings created this place. I'm one of them that helped create this earth. We are extensions of God and we are creators. We are the architects. This is what we do. We build planets. This isn't our first one. This is what we do. And before we created this, Source told us, I don't think you're ready for the polarity thing to do duality here. But everybody still agreed upon it. God said, I can't come save you. Whatever you get into because of the free will, I cannot intervene. I cannot save you. So you have to clean up your own messes. So I want to hear people stop going, oh, how did God let this happen? And how is he letting this happen? Okay, somebody's driving down the road drunk and kills somebody drinking and driving. And you guys want to get mad at God. How did you let this happen? Why aren't you yelling at the person that got behind the wheel of the car drinking and driving?
Mm-hmm.
That's the one responsible. And even if God didn't have the whole I can't interfere thing because of free will, would you, if you were God, would you want to spend your whole day, every second you're living, cleaning up all these people's messes because they can't figure out how to be a decent human being and not do the stupid stuff they do?
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't do it. I
Oh,
mean,
and our
we have to
souls
start
wouldn't
taking
want it. Like,
accountability.
yeah.
Yeah. It's always blame somebody else. Blame Lucifer, blame God, blah, blah, blah. Blame yourself. Take accountability for your own stuff. Okay. It's not God's job to clean up your messes. Actually, this is where the free will comes in because many people sit there and go, oh, free will. We should be able to do whatever we want. Why do we got karma and this happened? We got free will. That's not what free will is. Okay. Free will means you have a choice. Okay. Now, all right. Say you. What if you just invited me over to your house and I'm just started trashing your house completely? All of your furniture, everything in that place, that you worked hard for. What are you going to do? You're going to kick me out of your house, right? You're going to be like livid. All right. So, what do you think goes on with God? Free will, you have a choice. You can always, yes, you can choose to not do what, God's saying and not follow God's way, but there's going to be a consequence for that choice. There's always a consequence to any action that you take, and there's a consequence to not following this stuff. If you're in God's house and destroying God's house that he and she worked hard on, do you not think they're going to kick you out of their house? Do you think that they just want somebody coming in and destroying all their hard work that they put their blood, sweat, and tears into? But free will, you choose.
Mm-hmm.
You can go that path or you can go this path. Do you want to have the hard lesson or do you want to, walk with source? That's free will. Choose wisely.
Oh, it's so
Just like
true.
karma.
100%. And they need to, like, this is where like my way of teaching comes in, is because that is scientifically no way to alter that. Like the free will and the allowing and the karma are the bubble that make you up. Like we are just like sacred geometry symbols. Like that's what we really are. Like you mentioned earlier about being one of the creators. Is that an Elohim? Like the Elohims? Yeah, the Elohims. Yes. Oh my God. The last person I just talked to had contact with the Elohim. So I'm totally like, that is just being pumped right now into my current lived storyline right now. I'm being told Elohims, Elohims, Elohims. And like the whole, go ahead.
No. Keep going. Keep going.
Oh, okay. But yeah, so we chose to come down here, like the sixth dimensional archetypes of this world, although they're actually higher, but like they make it and it comes out there. And then that's just the whole thing. It's the choice point, and you have to choose free will. And this is what I was saying earlier about Jesus and how he was able to come down as such an already powerful being. But that's one of the stories or rumors. He was powerful regardless, but is that they broke that free will law and they did get too satanic and tricking them into thinking they had no choice. And it just crossed that line where they weren't being told the truth enough, because you're allowed telling all the lies you want as long as you balance it out. It doesn't even have to be the equal amount of truth. It just has to be enough so that that person knows that's an option. And then if they shake it off, that's up to them. but they had to have heard it. And then I guess they were so in that bubble of lies, they broke the free will. So God was like, okay, boom, Jesus. And then he came down. And then that was just, we're in this whole world today because of that like sonic boom that the Jesus effect sent off, telling us such powerful truth too. Like everything he told us in the Gnostic Gospels and in the actual New Testament, it matches with Buddhism. So Buddhism was great too. But like Jesus, and they had all the practices to help us do the non-attachment stuff. But Jesus came in with that, I don't know, like just that fire, right? Like they talk about the anointing fire. It came down and just bam. And we've been going ever since. Like we've just been like fixing this ever since. Because there was thousands of years before Jesus where it was like, you wouldn't want to have been there. I'm sure we were, but
We were, and it wasn't good. None of it was good. Even afterwards, for a while, it wasn't good, you know. And
no,
they've also changed all the teachings too. So that's what sucks, is because like the true teachings have been kept from us, you know, and they've all been twisted and changed.
that's what I
And
do
that's
when I'm
what,
not, doing guests is I teach the Gnostic Gospels. Exactly. Yeah, keep going. Sorry.
oh no, 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 you're fine. You want to know something about yourself?
Yes.
So I was smiling a minute ago. You started talking about the Elohim, and I got it. I was like, oh, I already know what this is. You want to know why me and you were talking right now?
Oh, why?
You're an Elohim, and I've been calling in all the Elohims to me. My soul sent out a call, and they've all been coming in, and that's why
Ah.
we ended up connecting. You're an Elohim.
Oh, that's, I had a feeling, but I didn't want to. Just from everything I've been getting as information on them, and they've been calling out to me. And then, even like I was saying earlier about the wings, and then like that's been for
Yeah.
years. I felt the wings thing, but then somebody telling, because I've been getting calls when I do meditations to go deeper, but I'm too scared. And I told them that, and I was like, well, I was like, I'm too scared. Find another. It's like you said, bring in the Elohims. I said to them, bring in my truth from outside sources. I literally said this to them because I'm too scared to go deeper. Like I have deep fear blocks and blah, blah, blah. That's my own like serious story. But like I have, it's like it always worked out. It's one of those things where like you can tell the way the divine works for you and it always sounds silly, but until you have these moments of, oh wow, like that's what I told the divine to do. This is what I told the divine to do. And then it comes together to match. Like,
I can help you remove that fear. You know how to remove that fear?
mm,
Awareness, learning protection, learning what you have to do before going into that, where you know nobody, you know, whoever's coming through, you know they're for you, they're of the light. Then you have nothing to fear. Remember, fear, that's always an entity. That's like entity. You let fear in, you're opening yourself up to an entity. But when you stand in your power and you learn how to protect yourself, then there's nothing to fear. You know you can go into that and communicate with them, and you've done whatever you needed to do to make sure that the only people that are there talking to you are the ones that are meant for you. So they're wanting to communicate with you because they have a lot to share with you. You got a big role here. A
told
big
me
role.
that. I heard that because I can do, and I can talk to them in thought processing ways of my thoughts coming into my head as my own ideas. And then it's kind of like a conversation, but they wanted to pull me out. They showed me the room. I saw the room. They wanted to pull me out like astral projection style, which I did as a teenager, and it got me balled up. And I actually had problems for years of sleep paralysis and getting trapped in the other side. So because of that, I shut it all down, and then I can't. That's the problem, like because they actually want to pull me out, and they try, and it starts to happen. I feel myself going, and then I'm like, nope, just tell me some other way.
It's so crazy to see what we're okay with now on our journey compared to before. Like it was a month ago, all of a sudden I'm like going to meet an alien spaceship. And like no, you told me this 5 years ago, I would have been like, "You're on drugs. Stop smoking crack." Like I'm not me go see an alien. No, like, and here I am traveling across the country to Utah, and it was my star family came to see me and some other people. We had all these ships they were sending in to come bring us messages, and we were going to get to meet them, and like I'm all gung-ho for it, and I couldn't believe it, and get out there. It was the most amazing magical moment ever. But that's when we found out about being the Elohim more. Like first we get out there, and the four of us, we were the four elements. I'm the water element. We had one of them's the earth and the air and the fire and water, and they're like, you helped create this land, you know. They were like, you think you're here in honor of us, but we're here in honor of you. And they were sharing all of our history and the story of the Elohim. Oh, he's so cute. So the Elohim pretty much, all right, so the angels could not be in a human form. They could not be here on earth, you know, in a human body. So what they had to do is, like, as the time was coming in where the darker energies were coming in, the dense energies, they're too dense for normally we can't be here around these dense energies where we come from. This is like a torture to us. So which we've realized in this life, yeah, it's been torture. But so they were going to have to leave at that time. There was a portal open, and once the denser energies came in, they were going to have to leave, but we couldn't leave humanity here with nobody. So the best of the best, the leaders, the ones that were in charge, we stayed behind. We stayed behind to be here to guide and help humanity. So what the others have been doing, the other Elohim, they have been coming back and bringing us information in each lifetime, and ideas and all this stuff that we share with humanity to help them evolve to that next level. They're able to see the future and everything that's happening, to see like what choices we made and where it's led us. So they come back and they bring us what we need to know at that time to help us get off that path and go into a better timeline. And this is what we've been doing as angelic beings and Elohim on this earth. We've been here just trying to help guide humanity where they belong in our creation, and evolve and learn these lessons.
Yeah, I have always felt that, which is funny. Like, always felt the need to help people to a detriment. Like, even when I was an atheist, I was still like the helping one, the one that like would put her own needs aside. Not like, oh, I'm so great. No, it's like I had to. It was a
Yeah.
selfish thing. It was like anybody that identifies as like an empath, they live in that place. And that's what I realized like later, growing strength and boundaries, that like always saying yes, you're not helping them because their own karmic blah blah blah, but that the whole instinct though of always pushing to help in some whatever way like it could be found. Until now I feel like I'm finally onto it now, which is hilarious because I went to journalism school like right out of high school. I did journalism and then I worked in that world for like a bit, but it was awful. Like, school was great, loved it. I planned on being a talk show host, which is hilarious because now I'm just doing it because of this. And I was just thinking of that in the car today. I'm like, oh my god, I'm a talk show host. Not really like that thing that was used to be the plan. And it's like those pushes that the divine lines it up like this whole time of like, and then now all of a sudden it makes sense. Like, it's starting to make sense finally that like I might be finding something that I can do, because I know I want to help, but it's like, but how, right? I tried energy healing too. I can energy heal, but I make myself very sick. I've heard there's people that energy heal, but they take the pain inside them, and then I work it out in myself, and eventually I do let it go. But it's like I don't want to heal that way. I don't want to. It's a big burden to take. Like, and I don't think
Yeah.
that's. And then energy healing to a point only helps somebody temporarily, anyways. Like we were saying before, you can help them get rid of it, but if they're not going to change their lived experience,
Mhm.
then they're just going to
Yeah.
get them back. So you're
Or if
just
they don't learn the lesson, you can remove it. But if they're still going to keep, like not seeing the lesson point and not growing or evolving, then it's just going to come right back. So there's only so much you could do. I took somebody's cancer away they had, I healed them of the cancer, but it came back because they just went right back to the same old way. And so it's like, that I can't do anything about it then. You've got to do your part. There's no free rides, God taught me a while ago. He's like, there are people here that, and this is what happened in Atlantis. People got lazy and it's wanting that instant gratification or somebody else to do the work for you. And God's like, I'm not here for those people. And I was like, really? It's like, no, you have to do the work. And is it fair that we have done our part and done the healing and done all the freaking painful stuff, all this stuff that nobody wants to do? We've done it. Would it be fair if all these people that didn't get the same things that we did right now? They didn't have to apply themselves or anything, and they're going to get all the same benefits that we did. Kind of wouldn't be right. They've got to work towards it. Your soul has to evolve. It has to go through those things. You've got to learn it. And so you got to take accountability for everything with yourself. No more blaming God. No more blaming the devil. Everything is on you. You
oh,
came here. And
oh yeah.
everybody keeps going and nobody's doing anything right now. They're all waiting. When's God going to come do this? God, when is this going to happen? We're waiting. We're sick of this here on earth. Guys, I need you to realize something. God's going, I'm waiting on you. I don't know why you're waiting on me. If you're here, you're in a physical body. It's your job to do something. God's not here. Like, our source is not here in that physical body. That's why we came here, to make that change. It takes us being in physicality to really make changes. Free will, they can't jump in and they can't interfere. So doesn't it sound like more like that would be something we do to create change? And this is what we can do when we heal ourselves. We have great power. We can manifest anything when we come together with people and you're of a high vibration. You can manifest this very next day. I've done it. I've seen it happen a million times. It's amazing and powerful. 15 minutes of a call with somebody over the phone. We're on video call, and yet we're manifesting powerful shifts in the whole entire planet that can be seen the next day. This is what we can do, but we need to do it. But everybody keeps being scared to do anything. They're waiting for the next person to do it. They're always like, oh, wait for somebody else to do something. And then nothing gets done because that's what everybody's doing, is waiting for somebody else to do it.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to save you.
No.
Have to.
And I completely agree. And it's like, because you do life coaching too. I was doing, or I'm not doing it anymore. I'm offering it, kind of switching to ministry, coaching, counseling, which just to make it more clear what this is about. Because when I was doing the life coaching, they just wanted to complain about what other people had done to them, which I get. That's a fine base level to start with. And then what do I do about this? What do I do about that? What do I do about this? And it's like, you tell them what to do, but then they don't do it. And then they still come back with the same questions. What do I do about this? What do I do? I already told you. Like, you want to, like, that constant lived. I didn't do it for long, and I didn't really enjoy it because I have that desperate need to help people. So one thing I want to ask you, because we should probably start closing down. We've been going for almost 2 hours, which has just been amazing. I could talk to you all day. Yeah. But what would you say? Because just coming together from that Elohim place to the empath place, do you think all empaths are Elohims then? And if so, if someone thinks no, okay, so there's layers.
No.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, there's different.
Empath world.
There's different layers. You got different levels of angels too. You got your seraphim, your archangels, thrones, choirs, cherubim. There's all these different beings, and then some souls are just souls. Some souls are not from the angelic realm. Some could be strictly starseed. They could have come from other star systems. Some are just been earthbound. They have never been anywhere else but Earth. There is very many different souls. Not everybody is angelic. That is a certain class. That's different. That's like beings that were made straight from source. Or like I said, those are beings that they were made from source, and then they went out and they started creating their own creations. And so that's where you get, then they hold source light, but they are an essence of source, as to where we are a fractal of source, made directly of source by source. So there's different layers, different levels that goes on. But the thing is, we're all working up too. Like what I do in my titles, I'm here to teach everybody else to do, but you got to do the work, there is no like hierarchy, like I'm here and nobody else can come up here and never be here. Like, no, that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to help you. Mm-hmm. We can move up, and you can all, like, that's why there's the archetypes, and you can embody a certain archetype at that time, and you take that on your lifetime. It's like, these are things that you do when you work on yourself. You move up and you evolve, and you get to take on these new levels of experience and titles, and spiritually as a soul, and you're moving up as a soul. If we weren't here and you see our soul self, we are actually different lights, we're like light beings, but that's how you can tell kind of somebody's rank. If you're like at this level, you'll be blue, you'll be like a blue orb. If you are at this level, you're going to be a green orb. And we're all moving, trying to evolve and keep going up. As a soul, that's all we crave. We just want to evolve. That's it. That's our passion. That's why we're here. It's to grow. So we're all here to help each other get to these points, and I do say, though, most people, they want to go up. They want to picture being at the top, but it's only because they're still in their ego. They feel like everybody would worship them and praise them, and actually they don't realize with these titles, it comes more responsibility. The higher you go, the harder it becomes, and the more responsibility you have. And it's not all fun and attention. It's the lifetime. You wouldn't want to live it. I'm telling you right now, like God for me, he's like, you got the job, you take the jobs that nobody else is willing to take. Like, this is, the stuff you do, nobody wants to do. And that's why they don't have my position. But God, do they attack me in this lifetime out of jealousy because they want to be me? Even my own people, the spiritual community. And I'm like, guys, I will teach you to be me. That's what you should be doing. Instead of attacking me, you should say, what are you doing different that I'm not doing?
What are they attacking you about? Like, because I hear that there's all these divides. I think it's this Galactic Federation people.
Yeah,
they're like creating this whole separate sect.
It's being ego too. I mean, I've met people, they're angels and they're this and that. And, and they got along with my face, but then all of a sudden I started seeing where they're like trying to pick fights with me or doing spite. And I was like, God, what is it? And God's like, jealousy. Like, I don't even know if she really realizes what she's doing. But yeah, it's jealousy from, other lifetimes. And I'm like the one person in the world nobody's ever going to be like that towards, and I'm like, and then you guys do this. And it's sad, but that shows where they're still in their ego. That's all ego right there. You're wanting to compete with somebody. You want their title and position. You don't like that somebody has a position higher than you. That's ego. You need to heal
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Well, though it's like becoming an insult in the community to you need to get grounded. You need to ground yourself. Just because I'm saying something that you don't resonate with does not mean I need to
Exactly.
ground. I mean, I probably do. We all need to
Spiritual
ground all the time.
bypassing. Spiritual bypassing, that's called. You cannot sit here and just because you don't like the sound of something that somebody says to you when they're speaking the truth, just because you're not willing to see the actual truth because your ego does not mean you can turn it around on them and then blame them and say that this or oh, you're just being toxic. I don't let not negativity and toxic people in my life anymore. No, it's not toxic to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
I just told you the truth. That's all. You just didn't like the sound of it. So now you're saying I'm being toxic when no, I just simply spoke the truth. That's spiritual bypassing. These people are not willing to take accountability for the truth, their own truth. They want to blame it on everybody else and say that they're perfect and have nothing to work on. That doesn't work, guys. You're not helping yourself by doing this. Your ego's trapping you. You're going to be stuck in another soul cycle, another lifetime again, doing this all over again on another place that's just like Earth. As long as you keep doing that, you've got to get control of that ego. You've got to be real with yourself. Like I said, don't care if you made a mistake or whatever. I mean, that's good if you made a mistake. Once you see it, then you're like, okay, what was I supposed to learn from this? And then you can
Yeah.
move past it. Okay. But as long as you're like sticking to that ego and like, no, oh no, is them and da da da. It's like you're hurting yourself, nobody else but you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is, this world is changing and we are tired of being in this phase. And so it was a very important lifetime to choose which path you take wisely. There's going to be serious consequences for each person depending on what choice they made. And so it's like you've got to be real. Stop lying to yourself. Do not, if you're sitting here telling me now you're perfect and you got nothing to learn, you're not where you need to be. 100%. Sorry. There's no other option. That's the only answer right there.
Oh
Because
yeah. Yeah.
you should always know you're always going to have room to grow. You're always going to have room to expand. You're going to get things wrong. I mean, that's part of the journey. I helped create this place. Am I not still here going through all these experiences, evolving, having to go through the lessons, having to do this? It's what we do as a soul. We're not even free from that. It's
Oh,
it's the template, and I'm lucky in this lifetime, but not really. I mean, I'm very good with my ego. Everything I do, I'm already checking my ego way beforehand. I love it sometimes when I run across those people, they'll try to say, "Oh, you're in your ego." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm the wrong one to try to pull that lie on."
yeah.
Like, I'm like, "No."
Try to humiliate me. Try to humiliate me. I dare you. You can't. Like that's ego right there. But it's funny. It's like you could tell me I suck left, right, and center, and it could be true, and I'll still be like, "Thanks for telling me," or "Ouch, that hurt," but it'll be genuine.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm so cautious of my ego, but it was because in a past life, in the beginning, my ego did get to me. I made choices that were not good. So now my soul is extra cautious. Everything I do, I'm making sure my ego is not the one controlling the show. And so you've got to realize we're all open to this. If you're a human, you're in this body, then it came along with the ego. And you're only going to hurt yourself by not being willing to realize when maybe your ego's involved, you know? And it happens. I mean, to all of us, every once in a while, like somebody can trigger me and all of a sudden my ego kicks in, but I'm able to own it. I'd laugh it off. I'm like, oh, there goes that ego. It's trying to kick in. And people love when they see I'm actually real about it. I'm like, why not be? I mean, I've got to be. I'm on this journey and I'm taking it serious. And I mean, I'm human. This is the thing. We are here to have a human experience, guys. So it's okay to make mistakes. That's part of being human. We're in this lifetime, we actually have an honor. Before we used to come and you would either be spiritual or you would be just human. So we could either be a monk and we're nothing but, I mean, your just whole lifetime's devoted to that. But then we come and then we didn't do spirituality at all. This lifetime, we have the privilege of being both, but we have to learn how to balance those two. We have to balance what it's like to be human and spiritual. So let's say you're spiritual usually, and then life's getting to you, and you know what? You end up taking some time off. It could be a few days or a week. You're not really doing anything spiritual. Don't beat yourself up. Okay, you're learning to balance yourself, and you realized, okay, I need to just go back to being human and have some fun. And like, a lot of times spirituality, we end up like, some of us, we can stop laughing as much and having fun, and we're just working every day and helping people. Sometimes we need to go back to being human. We need to just live it up for a little bit, go wild, whatever. It's okay. We can do that. That's what we're supposed to do. They want us to love and honor ourselves and realize when our body's telling us, okay, I need to go in this direction right now, or I need to pull away my energy from people. I do that a lot. When all of a sudden I pull away, guess what? It's when I'm at a major evolution point, when I'm fixing to level up. I get that feeling I got to pull away, because you don't need to have all these other people's energy attached to you when they're trying to level you up, because it's going to mess you up, because you're getting their energy is not at your level, but it's in there at the same time when they're trying to weigh how your energy is, to level you up. So you want to pull back. So don't beat yourself up in these times. I see so many light workers do that. I should be doing more right now, and I haven't been doing enough spirituality and stuff. And then it's a guilt trip, and then you're beating yourself up every day. Well, that's bringing you in lower energies. You're destroying yourself. You're hurting yourself. And always to remember, you're human. We came here to live a human experience. And if you're living in the stars and dreaming about going home to the other planets too much, then you're not living a human experience, and you're not in the right energy either. You didn't come here to want to dream and wish to go back home the whole time. Okay? You came here to be human. So be human, guys. Have fun. Go out there, taste, touch, feel. That's what we normally can't do as a light being. We couldn't come here and fall in love. We couldn't touch. We couldn't taste. And that was the beauty of coming and descending down into these dense bodies. It's because we could do all that. This could all end one day, and we would just be floating blobs of energy in a dark, empty space. So enjoy these moments. We're here to live. We want to know what it's like to live and to feel and experience everything there is to experience. So allow yourself to do that, and leave the guilt trips for somebody else, because you don't need them. Okay? Enjoy your life. That's what you came here to do. But we've been taught so much wrong. And then we've been taught to compete and always be the best. And so we beat up ourselves with every little choice we make. And all we are doing is hurting ourselves. We're not helping whatsoever. And we've got to stop doing that. That's part of self love. Stop hurting yourself. Stop telling yourself things that are, just limiting and make you feel horrible. Realize that everything's okay. Whatever choice you make, it's okay. Source still loves you. You're still fine. You're not going to hell. Unless you really believe that, I mean, then you're going to put yourself in your own hell. But you have this power. When everybody gets their mind right and starts thinking positively, this world will transform before your eyes like that. That's
Yes.
all we really have that power. But as long as you keep denying these things or not being real with yourself, you're denying yourself seeing that reality and realizing your power, and how literally you could just switch this whole world like that in an instant.
Yeah, that's literally the thing when you go onto my Twitter, it's my pinned thing at the top is that like if enough of us do this, that's it. Like we just need enough of
Mhm.
us and the rest get to snap over into the new reality because we'll pull it forward for them. And then they get to be in this new world. And I resonate with everything you said. Yes, this is a human experience. You are still supposed to be human. But the reason why the work is so much right now is because of the switch of the ages right now. And we were in a separation phase, but now we're switching back on, but like it's still going to be human though. We just really need a push right now for that, like in like because we're in an enlightenment phase, like we go in and out of them, but like we need that push, otherwise it could push us down, you know what I mean? Like the energy we want up, it's kind of naturally moving up anyways, but we just help alleviate it and make it less stressful for everybody, and just like because it's hell on earth is what it is, like that whole place, like hell is on earth. There is no like there is probably hell realms where but that's like where
Yeah.
those beings always were. It's not for people that were bad that went there, you know what I mean? That's where those demons just happen to live. It's not for
Yeah.
us though, unless we want to work to and achieve to become one. It's a lot of work to be evil. It's actually more work. I mean, if truth be told, like
Oh
research
yeah.
And just knowing the truth, it's a lot more work to be evil because you need to fully commit. The most average person is just like, they're just a bad human. Like they're not an actual evil soul though. Like that takes a lot of work to do that, to be that kind of maniacal.
And a lot of them, I mean, they don't know any better. It's been passed down. I mean, it took that one person to break the chain a long time ago or hit that little domino, and they screwed up and did something they shouldn't have. And then they had these traumas and it kept getting passed down. And it's just been a chain reaction and it hasn't been stopped. And that's where you get to now, here we are millions of years later, look what we're dealing with. It's a really scary thing to see what's been around us. But once again, this world is a reflection for what we hold inside. So clearly, and if you're not liking what you see around you, then you need to start going within more because there's something that needs to be healed. When you start healing yourself, your reality starts to transform. So if you don't like what you see, you need to go within. You're not healed.
Absolutely, 100%. And that's a perfect place to pretty much end the discussion
Yeah.
there. That was beautiful. Thank you. That was really beautiful. If you want to finish it off, let people know where they can find you, just where they can see you, and I'll let you go ahead and do that.
Yes. If anybody would ever like to book a channeling session with me, you can always go to Orykl.com/Christina Franz. Or if you just go to Orykl.com, you'll find me too on the list. I think I'm on the first on the list as well. So it'll be easy. You can book a session there with me. I also have Earth Angel Light Activations at square dot, I think it's net. Oh my gosh. Sorry. Or you can email me at earthangellightactivations@outlook.com. But you can find me on Facebook under Christina Franz and TikTok as well. And YouTube, Earth Angel Light Activations. And I would love to talk with you guys more or help you in any way that you need. Don't hesitate to ask.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you for being with us here today, Christina. Thank you, everybody here on Transcending Ascension. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you found that conversation as enlightening as I did. Thanks for tuning in again, and we'll talk to you later. Goodbye for now.